Okay, so in a previous video I made a karambit, and it came to my attention by one of the viewers that I really didn't elaborate on what to do and how to do it. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I didn't have any metal that was quite thick enough, and I already have a karambit, so I'm not worried about how this turns out, but I'm still going to go through the process with you to explain. So let's get started on that. We're going to be using power tools and cutting metal, so make sure to wear your safety glasses, okay? All I'm using right now is a jigsaw with a metal cutting blade, and I promise you it's no big deal. If you want to just use a hacksaw, you definitely can. Alright, now I have everything cut out, and I'm not sure if you can see it, but I went ahead, I put some hammer marks on here. That's not very hard to do at all. All you have to do is basically hit it with a hammer evenly on both sides to make sure that you don't wind up curving it to one side. Okay? After I did that, I went ahead and retraced all my lines, and we're about to head over to the grinder and finish everything out. Okay, have everything ground out about to the shape that I want. I'm going to start working on this hole back here. I don't have a drill bit big enough to fit that, and I don't necessarily have a grinding wheel big enough to fit that, so I'm going to get as big as I can with the drill bits and then probably wall it out and use a Dremel to do the rest. But here we go. Now I'm going to start working on the handle. You can do this absolutely any way you want and with whatever you want. I still have the piece of fiddleback maple that I used on the last karambit, and I figured I'd use it on this one too. And no, the hole is not finished yet. I just don't have the Dremel with me right this minute. Right this minute. But you can draw this out any way you want. Have your handle shaped whatever way you want to fit your hand to do whatever you want. But this is what I'm going to do. I don't know how it's going to turn out yet, because this isn't like what I did on the last one. I haven't done this yet. This is what I'm going to do. All you got to do is draw it out any way you want. I'm going to mirror image it, which means I'm going to cut this one out, flip it, draw it out on here, and to cut that one out. Okay? So I'm going to do that and get right back to you. You guys, it really doesn't matter what you do though. Okay, now here's the basic shape. The handle is just a rough cut, and there's going to be a lot of sanding done on here and a lot more shaping that's going to be done. But as you can see, I've drilled holes completely through both of them in the exact same spot on both of them, and this allows them to stay together when I'm shaping them, and it also allows me to get a mirror image. Okay, they're both going to be exactly the same when I get done shaping them. I'm going to use the sander. If you want, or if you don't have a sander, you can clamp them together with the pins in place and file them down, sand them down with regular sandpaper, or cut them out, anything you want. But by doing this in this way, I know that I can produce two scales that are exactly the same. So we're going to go over the sander and get started on that. Alright, now that that's done, I'll move on to hand sanding. Okay, so there's the handle. It is a little bit dirty right now. I'll clean that off right before I put the finish on there. That's the handle. As you can see, they're almost perfect to each other. Alright, now back to the blade. By the way, I just went and got into Dremel and I cut that out. It's nothing special. I'll put a little quick peek of it, but it's really nothing special. And as you can see, the hole's good, but it makes the outside look kind of, I don't know, iffy. But that's no problem. We can take it over the grinder, and in just a few passes, we're going to even this up with this. And since you've already seen me in the grinder, you know what to do. I'm just going to skip to the next step. Show you what it's going to look like. Okay, so there's a rough guesstimate of what this thing is going to look like. It's going to change a whole lot here in the next few steps, but for now, that's what we got. Okay, so I think the next thing that I'll do is go ahead and put the grip notches in the blade, and I like to do that before the blade is heat tempered, and hardened and heat tempered. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm just going to be using a Dremel, a little cutting wheel. I'll show you how that goes. Okay, I have all the notches cut out, and I kind of messed them up because I didn't mark them beforehand. It's a good note. Mark your notches beforehand. That's okay. Now I'm just going to run, this is some 150 grit. I'm going to run over the whole blade, make sure that I get all the saw marks and the grind marks out of it, get all the burrs off of it, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so we're back here at the house. I just put a coat of True Oil on the scales. That's absolutely nothing special. You simply wipe it on. You can use a paper towel or whatever, let it dry for 2 hours, and then reapply. It's waterproof, all the good stuff. I went ahead on the sander and put a little bit of bevel on here. I'm going to go ahead and use my bevel jig to finish that out. I made this in a previous video. Hold on one second. Okay. And once again, there's almost absolutely nothing special about it. You pin the knife down with these screws. And on this style blade, you'd probably be best with a half round file, but all I have right this second is a flat, and I did the last Karambit with a flat, and it worked fine. I just had to do a little bit more maneuvering than I thought I would have to. Anyway, I'm going to start on that and move on. Alright, so what you just saw was me hardening the blade. The way to do that, I do not have a forge right this minute, but the way I did it was using a fish cooker, and you just heat it up until it's a uniform orange color, or until it's non-magnetized. So you can test that with any magnet. And then you dip it into any type of oil. Okay, some people use linseed oil, some people use sunflower oil, some people use motor oil. This specific time I used some vegetable oil, and as you can see, it left a little patina on the blade. Now that's up to you whether or not you want to leave it there, but I'm going to put a patina anyway, so I'm just going to leave it. See, the way you can test whether or not you did it right is if you get a file and run it across, it won't bite. Okay, it'll take the patina off. It might take a little bit, but for instance, when you were using the file to work the bevel, it's not going to do anywhere near the damage that it did when you were working on that. Okay, so after heat treating, the next step is to temper it. The way I'm going to be going about this is to heat my oven to 400 degrees, waiting till it's at temperature, and then we will place the blade in there for a good hour. Once the hours come, we'll let it cool, and once it's cooled, we'll place it again for another hour. After the hour, I mean, it's a knife. We're done. I'm going to put the handle on there, put the patina on there, and call it done. So, I'll get back to you in 2 hours. Alright, I just tempered the blade, and I don't know if you can see this, but the way you tell is by looking at the metal right there, where you can see through that patina. It's a straw color. Okay? So once you see that, it's good. Since I'm leaving this on here, the next step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand this handle down a little bit with some 400 grit, and then I'm going to stick the scales on. I'm going to be using these pins. The last ones I used were brass, but these are just aluminum. And then I'm going to epoxy them in place with some 5-minute epoxy. So let's get to it. Okay, so that's it. I use the cutting wheel and the Dremel to cut these pins down, and then I use the sander to level them out. Got everything the way I wanted, and then I put another coat of True Oil on there, and I'll probably put a couple more, but as far as you guys go, that's it. That's the knife. Sharpening, that's your own deal. There are plenty of ways to do it, but I'm not going to get into that. Thanks guys, that's it.